2, 1. Back now on the podcast, and we have a very special guest who somehow has managed to pull off, Brad, a rare feat, which is to do a comedy show at one of the toughest venues in America, Harpo's, on a Thursday night, and then on a Friday morning record an Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast with us. It is a former Mizzou athlete in track and in football, and now a well-known stand-up comedian who is going all over the place. He's performed worldwide. Michael Oldroyd is with us now in the studio. First of all, thank you for waking up for us, because I know the hours of a stand-up comedian can be very difficult, and you have made it here and been the most nattily attired guest we have ever seen.
First of all, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. And it was so late that I almost was like, I don't know if I can sleep. I think I'm going to just kind of stay. So I don't know how much sleep I got last night, but I'm very glad to be here.
I heard that a megaphone ended up being involved at one point in the show.
It did. Everything that possibly could have gone wrong last night did. And I feel it was like the ultimate case study of just persevering no matter what. And the megaphone added a unique dynamic. I can finally say I've done comedy with a megaphone now.
Well, that's something that I have so much respect for people who do stand-up comedy, because, you know, for people like, for example, in the path that Matt and I are on, where we're watching a game and we're reacting to a game. So yeah, there's a performance aspect, but we're kind of just reading and reacting to a game. Whereas with you, it's all you, man. You're up there, and if there's a bad mic or whatever, you know, the crowd doesn't really care, right? It's like, hey, make me laugh.
Yeah. It's all about momentum, right? And it's in a game, the momentum is there, and you talk about it. But here, I can feel when it starts to drop when I'm doing stand-up, and it's like, okay, time to, you know, like you got to do something, do jumping jacks. You got to like get people back. So you got to keep that momentum going. So, yeah.
So let's go back to infancy. Actually, no, let's take it to high school. When was it a decision for you that not only athletics would be your future, but also Mizzou would be in your future?
Okay, that's a great question. So I realized I was actually good at track and field in about 8th grade, 9th grade, because I was training for football. I started dating a girl who was a Missouri athlete, a year older than me, state champion miler, full ride scholarship, who actually got a medical school degree here. But I chased her up here, no pun intended. She was a year older than me. She was robbing the cradle, came up to Mizzou, in-state tuition, and I had the opportunity to run track for Missouri, 800-meter. And that was kind of the impetus for me getting into Mizzou athletics, I should say.
What was the decision there between track and field and football for you?
I always loved football more. I went to a running school. We were Smash Mouth football, Eureka High School. We weren't a passing school. We tried to open up because when our coaches saw our high school QB, Eric Heidi, and me on JV and realized we don't even have to do anything and just throw them the ball every time, right? 1 out of every 2.5 times I touched the ball, I scored on JV. So they were like, okay, we're gonna do more of a Missouri spread offense. And he got hurt early in the season, and then that was the end of them throwing the football to me. So for me, I had small schools reaching out, but I never had the opportunity to really show what I could do as a receiver. I never got any offers, even though I knew I could do it. So that was the impetus of running track. It was a little bit easier for me to get in, and you know, I just thought, hey, I've already got people that I know. I'd come up here and visit her, and I was like, I like it. It's an opportunity. It's D1. Let's do this.
Well, then you got in, and you ran track, and then you decided, you know what? I don't have enough draw on my time, so I'm going to try to walk onto the football team. And then you made it. What prompted you to say that I'm going to try to go out here? How did that conversation go between you and Gary Pinkel and his staff?
Yeah, I love these questions. You know, I made a contract to myself. I wrote down in the winter of 2005, I said, if I'm not fulfilled by track and field by the end of the season, I'm going back, because my heart is just – there's something. I played football for 12 years before that, and I was missing. I said, if I'm not running an X time, I need to be running like a 151 to like stay and then to feel happy about that. I ran a 154, which is okay. I can win state as a senior or, you know, in high school, but it's like I miss football. I'm done. And we broke up, me and my girlfriend. So
that's also a very yes. I have a lot of extra time now because
less running all around.
Yeah. Right. So. Didn't chase her anymore. Did not chase, you know, the guys in front of me on the track. And I honestly, I just missed football, so I just started getting in shape that early in that summer, and it was a risk. You know, they say you can't pray for your crops to grow if you don't like plant the seeds, right? So I just started getting in shape with no guarantee. I remember coming up into the Hearn Center, I think it was, and I met Coach Odom, who was the head football or the head recruiting coach at the time, and my high school football coach called Coach Odom, one of my high school, and he just said, nobody will work harder than Oldroyd. You got to give him a chance. So I met Coach Odom, shook his hand. That was the beginning of the relationship that took place. He told me to come back on the first day of school, showed up, and the opportunity was for me to lose. If I could hang, if I could make things happen. And they had a lot of guys show up that first day, and they had to let a lot of guys go. So I was lucky not just to get in, but to like be in the position I want to be, which is a WR, a wideout, baby.
And you were a WR for, in my opinion anyway, the best Mizzou football team to date, the team that wound up winning the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Day of 2008. What coaches were most responsible for keeping you from being on the field and getting your chance at individual glory?
Definitely.
The statute of limitation has passed. You can throw
I never thought
him
I'd get the opportunity. It was Andy Hill, no doubt. It was Andy Hill, and he did prevent me. So
multi-time Super Bowl champion now with the Chiefs, but that guy was an idiot, right? He had no idea.
He was no idiot. But no, there's a lot to it. Obviously, we had some absolutely stellar wide receivers. I was lucky to be around them and to grow from them and to get better. The J Max of the world, Denario. But yeah, that was the time period that I was there. So,
what's your best memory from doing all that? From especially that run in 2007 with that group. What stands out?
I think if I had to choose one, I would. It's hard to say one, but when we found out as a team, it was during the awards banquet going into the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma. We were all at some hotel here in Columbia. The whole team was together. It wasn't through a text. It was not through phone calls or a Zoom or anything. We're all together, and as they're doing the awards, I think it was Mike Kelly. I forget who it was, but someone gets up and they go, "Hey, we just got an announcement that Missouri just took the #1 spot in the nation." And everyone just went insane. And the entire state of Missouri was on fire in a way it had never been before. And it was just an incredible electricity that you could just cut with a knife. We were Zooming, and I still feel that the reason that we didn't play better against Oklahoma is we'd never been there before. It's so much to get at once. All that at once. We needed like a vaccine for that. It was so much pressure, it was so much like excitement. We were like deers in headlights a little bit. So maybe we could have beat them if we had been there before.
Well, I wonder if there was a little bit of a letdown from the game before that. Arrowhead Stadium, Mizzou and KU. It seemed like #1 in the nation was going to be on the line, and that wound up being the case. But take us back to that game at Arrowhead, that atmosphere. You had a front row seat to arguably the best win in the history of the program.
Well, this is a little embarrassing, but at that, I didn't get to travel for away games unless it was for bowl games. So as a walk-on, my job was scout team. My job was to get beat up every week. I was getting a chance to move up in 2008 when I got hurt, but I can tell you what it was like watching it on TV.
Well, I can do that.
Okay, so next question.
the lead up in practices, I guess, to that game, was there anything different about that? Because obviously the stakes were so high.
So Coach Pinkel always used to say, you want to be winning in November. That's when you want to be going up in November, right? Because that says you want to crescendo, right? You want to be crescendoing at the right time. Because it's all about momentum, even in any sport, baseball going into the playoffs, right? You want to be hot. So we were hot. We were getting hotter, and I just remember more and more people were coming out of the woodwork. I'd come out of practice, and some random guy that I'd never seen before was like, "Hey, where's Tony Temple's car? I want to give him a free oil change." You're like, I don't know if I'm going to tell you that. I don't know if I'm going to tell you where his car is. Oh, man. So it was pretty cool. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, as you got into that next season, right? And you've got a preseason coming, and all of a sudden there are people who come and go, and coaches start to tell you, like, hey, compete for this spot as a wide receiver on this team. And then you have a knee injury, and it just kind of, it breaks the whole thing, right? How did you react initially to the fact that, hey, this season that, you're in the thick of it and it's done? Because as as a person, that's difficult. As an athlete, I'm sure, who works so hard to get there, that's got to be, a tough ride.
Yeah, thank you. It was very difficult. Probably the hardest thing I had ever faced up to that point in my life because I had put so much into football. As I mentioned, I loved it with all my heart. And Coach Pinkel did sit with me. I had shown I was scoring touchdowns on the first string defense all the time in practice, making all the coaches mad. One of my guys last night was telling me he used to get in trouble every time I would score on the first string defense, like it's his fault. I'm the one who did it. Why are you getting yelled at, right? Coach Eberflus apparently was like, stop letting Oldroyd, get the ball. You're making me look bad. We want to keep this simple. We want to keep our guys fresh for the game, and it was just one of those deals when, Coach Pinkel was looking. It's like if you're betting on horses, I could see his eye was putting more and more chips on me, and he told me, he said, this is, if you're going to have a chance, this is it. We had 4 guys graduate, and going into the spring of '08, and on the second day of spring ball, it just was like the only way I could describe it is you're elevated and you're all playing football on a high level, and then I'm just in this glass elevator just going down, and I'm watching everyone in that moment realizing I might be done, and they're moving on, and I'm going a different direction, and it felt like life was over.
Mm-hmm. But obviously you've pivoted and had a lot of success in some different ways beyond that. The stand-up comedy piece for you, was that something that where did that come from? Was that already kind of in your eye during the time that you were a football player?
It actually was, and Missouri football helped me get my start. So I can thank Missouri football for different things, including getting my start in comedy. I was always the class clown as far back as 3rd grade. I was voted most likely to host Saturday Night Live by my high school senior class, 300 plus students. Still trying to make that happen for them. The Missouri, I entered these comedy competitions at Deja Vu here in Columbia, and I was talking about the locker rooms and inside and Chase Daniel and all these things, and it really created a lot of buzz. And I won both comedy competitions back to back, 2 years, 2007, 2008. And it just really tamed him with football. And Coach Pinkel even was starting to. He goes, "Hey, he didn't know my name at first, right? Over time, he learned
right.
it, right? But over time, hey, you're the comedian, right? I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, I heard your delivery is the best. I was like, thank you, Coach. Now I'm gonna go score some touchdowns. So yeah, that was it. It was funny how the football status and the comedy status kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah, and as you work on that and understand that it's going to be part of a career for you, like how does the mentality change, right? Do you apply things that you found in football to trying to build a career in what I think everybody understands it's a pretty difficult way to make a living, because so many people want to be in that spot, and to put yourself above the rest, you really have to have the same sort of dedication that an athlete does to his or her craft.
Absolutely. There's a lot of parallels between track and football. I mean, you get on stage by yourself, it's like a track meet, essentially. Getting ready, waiting to go on stage for 2 hours, and it's an important show. I feel like I'm waiting to run a track meet. So I apply so many lessons from track and football, and so many habits, and watching film on myself, and doing the hard work. I approach it different than most comedians, so I'm a little unconventional, which I think sets me apart, and I wouldn't do it any other way because it's just who I am. It's the way I've been molded by my teams and coaches and friends and teammates. So I have a unique perspective and voice and background, and I enjoy. I think it's been very helpful, and hopefully it continues to keep going up, as Coach Pinkel would say. When we won the Cotton Bowl, I remember in the locker room after the game, he goes, "We're going to keep going up! We're going to keep going up!" And we didn't, so I hope that this is the opposite of how that was.
Well, if Oldroyd didn't get hurt, we would have kept going up. But you never know.
You're too nice, Brad.
So you've also been telling the story not just here on the pod and comedy stages, but you've also been telling that to Mizzou business students, right? What have you been doing in that aspect?
Yeah, so they are excited to hear a little bit about the comedy and the perseverance, how you don't give up on a dream, and how to overcome basically parental expectations if you do have a dream, because a lot of people they might have something they want to do, but then also I had in order to fund my comedy career after I got hurt, after I graduated, I joined a startup with friends. from the graduated Missouri Business School as well, and we grew a company, and I was doing comedy this whole time, but it was a healthcare IT consulting firm, and I like to think that we really created a lot of value in the world of healthcare, which gives me fulfillment and joy to know, and helped create jobs for people, and helps give me a more accurate perspective of the world as a whole. I learned so much, and I think that gives my comedy breadth and depth, and I can relate to people who have jobs. A lot of comedians have never had a corporate job, so I can make fun of all that and kind of relate to people that way.
Maybe the most challenging part of that is finding a way to make a business student laugh, because some of them just have their nose all the time.
Yeah.
Like, stop reading the Wall Street Journal and laugh for a second,
Yeah,
will
all
you?
you have to. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
All you have to do is just impersonate them. Most of them are frat guys, so just go, "Hey, what's up? You guys going out tonight, or what?"
Well, speaking of impressions, as we're recording this, Mizzou needs a new athletic director, and I didn't know if you were aware. Maybe it's a time where the board of curators starts to look outside the box. Maybe going towards somewhere like Hollywood, maybe like a Nick Cage type, might be interested to really build some buzz around Mizzou athletics. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
Well, actually, I did hear something, and frankly, I'd love to apply for the position. It's, you need somebody new, you need fresh blood, and frankly, I need the money, okay? You can see that I make any movie thrown my way because I am desperate. And if I could make a pivot, especially if it pays more, I would be flabbergasted to be the new athletics director of the University of Missouri.
Yeah. Sign them up.
Yeah, I think it's sold.
Search is over. Call a meeting or whatever it is they have to do. We're done.
And if that fails, you can always sell the Constitution.
Yes.
As you go out and go to places and they find out, Michael, that you're a Mizzou guy, like, how much does that travel? How much does that carry across the world? How many times have you bumped into someone in doing what you do in stand-up comedy, and you get the MIZZOU right back at you?
Yeah, I do sometimes, especially if they have experience with Missouri or lived here at one point or have some sort of a connection. It's one of those deals where, I forgot what I was saying. Can you?
It travels everywhere. Like, when people recognize that, like, okay, here's a Missouri Tiger, right?
Yeah. People, I will say this, what happens more often than that, because I think I answered that part, what happens more often is that people, if they have an awareness of football and sports, they remind me of who I once was, because sometimes you forget, you're so focused on comedy, and when their jaw drops and their eyes widen and they realize what I was a part of, and not only the individual plus the team accomplishments, the whole thing as a whole, it really, there's a lot of appreciation and adoration, and it's a reminder, of where I once was and what I was able to be a part of, which is really cool.
If people want more info on what you got going on in terms of the comedy biz and all that, how can they get that info?
Thank you. My Instagram is what I'm trying to build out most right now, and my handle is @thedroid, TheDroyd. I am the droid that you're looking for if you're Rebel Alliance, and that you're not looking for if you're Empire. A little Star Wars reference.
Appreciate it.
Yes, I think both of us can appreciate that. And since we will release the podcast later today, April the 5th, Kansas City. Be there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's tonight. Westport Coffee House Theater, 9 o'clock show. Some former Missouri football players might show up if I can haggle them enough, and it's going to be a really fun time. So thank you.
If you tell Michael Oldroyd when you go to the theater tonight in Westport that you heard it on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast, you will get exactly nothing other than the satisfaction of knowing that you went to the show because you heard the podcast today.
And please let me know so I can pass that back to you guys and show some love and appreciation.
We're looking for one. We're looking for one brave soul in Kansas City and beyond.
Yeah.
And we hope you do show up wherever it is. And again, michaeloldroyd.com. You can find all the great information there and a little bit more of the comedy that you do. And we've been glad to have you for a little bit here on this Friday morning on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast, Michael. It's great to talk to you and hear your story, and we wish you all the best as you go forward into this thing, and we'll be looking out for you, man.
Well, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I know I talked about me this whole time, but I was just answering the questions. I'd love to have flipped it back, but congratulations on your success, all of you, and I wish you nothing but the best in the future. So it's been an honor to be here. Thanks.
That's Michael Oldroyd, and we'll be back, Brad and I, with some more thoughts about Mizzou Athletics after these.